Good afternoon. It is great to be here today. My name is Ana Maria Ibanez. I am the Vice President for Sectors and Knowledge at the Inter-American Development Bank, and I'll be the moderator for today's discussion. Thank you for joining us. Today's event is part of the Amazonia Biocreativity Hub exhibition's public programming that we are hosting at the IDB's Cultural Center, located here in our headquarters in Washington, D.C. It features a series of contemporary artists who trace their origins to the Amazon region or who live there. Their works are inspired by the Amazon's breathtaking biodiversity and its array of exuberant colors. Today, we will have the privilege to meet one of our featured artists in the exhibition, Roberto Huarcaya. The exhibition was developed by the IDB's Creativity and Culture Unit in collaboration with the IDB's Amazonia Forever program. Amazonia Forever is a program that we coordinate with all 8 Amazonian countries, the private sector, and very importantly, local representatives and civil society organizations. Today's discussion is part of an event series designed to foster dialogue and deepen the understanding of the concepts embedded in the exhibition Amazonia, a Biocreativity Hub, such as art, science, technology, and sustainable development in the Amazon region. I invite you to visit the exhibition. It's absolutely beautiful. And if you're not in Washington, D.C., feel free to explore our virtual tours, available in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. We'll be sharing the links to the virtual exhibition through our chat. Today, we will talk about the role of art and culture in raising awareness and driving change for a sustainable future in the Amazon region. Now, we will have the honor of listening to 2 experts on the Amazon, each representing different roles in the efforts to face the challenge of this region. They will share the knowledge they have acquired working around the Amazon and their experiences on the pressing issues this region faces. We invite you to join today's conversation by sending your questions through the Q&A tool enabled in this Zoom session. And now I have the honor of introducing the 2 wonderful panelists that we have. Roberto Huarcaya is a renowned Peruvian artist and photographer that combines photography with his profound interest in nature. His artworks, Amazogramas, are featured in our art exhibition. His work, Cosmic Traces, is currently representing Peru at this year's Venice Biennale. This is a huge accomplishment, Roberto. Congratulations. Throughout his career, Roberto has participated in numerous exhibitions, including the Havana Biennale, the Lima Biennial, and the Venice Biennial. And his work is part of important art collections, including the Maison Européenne de la Photographie in Paris, the Museum of Latin American Art in California, and the MUAC UNAM in Mexico. Roberto's unique approach transforms the Amazon region into a vibrant canvas, bringing to life the exuberant landscapes and diverse ecosystems of this critical area. His art not only celebrates the natural world, but also inspires us to recognize and preserve the unparalleled beauty of the Amazon. We are also proud to present Sara Dupont, a passionate advocate for the preservation of the Amazon rainforest. She is the president and founder of Amazon Aid, an organization committed to protecting and conserving the Amazon while raising global awareness about the critical importance of this vital ecosystem. Sara is an award-winning environmental advocate, philanthropist, educator, and filmmaker, and is a vocal advocate of ecological preservation. Sara works with neotropical scientists to study Amazonian biodiversity with the goal of educating the public and introducing cutting-edge conservation practices on the ground solutions to the region. Sara is the producer and co-director of the award-winning film River of Gold and the short documentary Mercury Uprising, which I highly recommend. Both films about illicit and unregulated gold mining in the Amazon rainforest. Sara and Roberto, thank you very much for being with us today. Now let me go to the questions. As you may all know, the Amazon is extraordinarily important to all of us. It is critical to climate change, to global weather patterns, and to preserving biodiversity and nature. It is also home to over half of the planet's tropical rainforests and over 50 million people from 511 ethnic groups. Let's dive into the intersection of art and environmental advocacy in the Amazon and how we can protect this invaluable region. Art and culture can be a vehicle, and I am fully convinced about this, to create environmental awareness for the conservation of nature, the Amazon, and the local communities. Roberto, first, let me ask you. We know that your immersive experience in the Bahagua Sonene Natural Reserve in the Peruvian Amazon led you to an experimental photographic process, resulting in the Amazogramas, a unique form of large-scale photography that registers the intricate details and vast scale of the rainforest, some of which are currently featured in our Amazonia exhibition. Could you tell us more about this experience and how it influenced your approach to creating images with greater respect? And how did this experience change your perspective on the role of art in raising awareness and driving change for a sustainable future in the region? Over to you, Roberto.
Buenos días a todos. Gracias a la organización del BID por hacer esto posible. Con respecto a la pregunta puntualmente, sí, hace 11 años comencé esta experiencia de introducirme en la Amazonía y tratar de construir imágenes que tuvieran la capacidad de contener la vivencia de esta experiencia y experiencia que ha cambiado, creo, mi vida. Desde el inicio me encontré con una serie de dificultades en términos que la tradición fotográfica usual, histórica, la cámara fotográfica, no tenía la capacidad de sostener, contener la fuerza de las vivencias, la información y la experiencia que iba ganando con la gente local de la etnia Eseja. Y paulatinamente me fui dando cuenta que la cámara fotográfica solo era capaz de registrar de alguna forma la epidermis de la selva, la piel exterior, pero no se metía literalmente en la selva. Manejaba además una distancia siempre prudencial y lejana para poder organizar la información ópticamente. Y no era capaz, ¿no? de generar otro tipo de representación. Luego de casi 2 años de frustraciones y frustraciones, desandé de alguna forma la propia historia de la fotografía y tomé conciencia paulatinamente que tenía que buscar otra metodología, otra técnica para hacerme de la naturaleza. Una técnica que fuera más horizontal en términos del vínculo que establecía, una técnica que no distanciara, sino que tocara. Es así que llego a la conclusión que el fotograma puede ser la alternativa a este cambio de estrategia, ¿no? De salir de la historia, de la mirada de un único punto de vista que viene, ¿no es cierto?, desde el Renacimiento con las cámaras oscuras, para trasladarme a otro territorio, un territorio mucho más empático. Y es así que decido experimentar con estos grandes rollos de papel fotosensible de 30 metros e introducirlos en la selva casi como si fueran una culebra o un riachuelo. Esta técnica de repente permitió que vamos a ir viendo en paralelo un video de todo esto. Esta técnica me permitió de repente llegar a donde no llegaba la cámara, tocar literalmente a la naturaleza, que en esta roce, que en esta fricción, construir imagen. Me alejé de mirar con los ojos a mirar con otros sentidos, casi a abrazar a la naturaleza, a la Amazonía, y construir imágenes abrazando y tocando, ¿no? Ya no viendo con los ojos, sino viendo por contacto. Y en este tacto también hablando de delicadeza. Creo que mucho en esta progresión a encontrar esta técnica tuvo que ver las propias culturas locales y de alguna forma me fueron pauteando formas distintas de vincularme con la naturaleza, no vinculándonos con la naturaleza como con algo, sino como con alguien, uniendo a la naturaleza como sujeto en mayúsculo. Y esto fue paulatino, y esto se fue construyéndose paulatinamente y se fueron construyendo una serie de piezas que intentan luego, al ser expuestas, generar esa misma relación de experiencia con la naturaleza representada, que aparezca como sujeto, como aparezca en un vínculo empático, porque creo además que el arte puede servir en términos de este vínculo, obra a espectador, esta relación, movilizar a la gente en términos de toda esta problemática global importantísima y de alguna forma en esa sensibilización ir ganando conciencias en términos de lo primordial de asumir, ¿no es cierto?, la naturaleza no como un área de una visión extractivista tradicional, sino todo lo contrario, a alguien a la cual hay que escucharla y generar espacios vivenciales y culturales de respeto mutuo, ¿no? Porque si no, digamos, no creo que haya mucho espacio o tiempo para seguir conversando en el futuro, ¿no? Y en ese sentido, las exposiciones son como espacios de experiencia en donde donde yo trato de detonar en el otro eh, y la sensación de vincularse con algo extraño, algo que moviliza, algo que te hace pensar para que luego, posteriormente, uno reflexione sobre esas vivencias tenidas en el espacio museográfico para comenzar a tomar conciencia, digamos, de esta gran problemática, ¿no? Es interesante de repente acá recalcar, para acabar esta primera parte de mi presentación, lo que me dijo el chamán, el jefe del grupo Ceja en ese momento, luego que yo salía con las tres primeras piezas construidas bajo esta metodología. Él se me acerca cuando ya estoy a punto de agarrar el bote para regresar hacia Lima y me dice, qué interesante, Roberto, lo que he ido viendo en estos 2 años de tu experiencia. Es muy interesante cómo te he visto desaprendiendo, curiosamente más que aprendiendo, o aprendiendo, desaprendiendo, y cómo ahora que has conseguido establecer un vínculo mucho más empático con la naturaleza y respetuoso, has encontrado también una metodología igual de respetuosa y empática para que así finalmente la naturaleza decida posarse sobre tu soporte, sobre tu superficie. No era yo que lo había conseguido, sino yo generando un cambio de vínculo generaba que la propia naturaleza de alguna forma se echara, se proyectara, quedara registrada en esa imagen, ¿no? Y este cambio de lectura, de cosmovisión, me pareció interesantísimo, ¿no? Creo que con eso acabo esta primera parte. Gracias.
Roberto, muchas gracias por compartir tu testimonio de todo tu proceso creativo. Es hermoso y es muy lindo ver cómo fuiste eh, cambiando todo tu proceso creativo para desandar lo aprendido, como te dijeron, y para tener un arte más empático y respetuoso con la naturaleza. For all of you that have been asking, Roberto's work is part of our exhibition. You can come here if you are in Washington, D.C., you can come to the Cultural Center to see it, or otherwise you can just do the virtual tour. Sara, now over to you. Your leadership and vision have inspired countless people to promote sustainable practices. You are a firm believer that a change in attitude is crucial if we want to preserve the Amazon region. In your experience as a filmmaker and environmental advocate, specifically addressing illegal gold mining, as I referred to at the beginning, how can collaborative efforts between artists and organizations, and I would say international organizations as well, such as Amazon Aid, amplify the message of conservation and encourage sustainable practices?
At first glance, it's almost like looking at the Grand Canyon in America, but then when you actually start to really understand what you're looking at, it hits you even harder.
Everybody's affected because the Amazon has such an important environmental impact.
We're at that moment where if we are not acting, the scale goes in another direction. This is critical moments, more than ever in history.
The Amazon is at a real crossroads. It's very close to a tipping point.
Gold mining is one of the underlying things that's destroying this enormous rainforest. It's like the Wild West.
The government launched an operation last year to destroy dredgers.
Peruvian police raid illegal mining operation.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for showing that short clip of the film that we produced, River of Gold. And I always get emotional every time I talk about it because it was such an incredible project to be part of. I'd like to thank Heidi B for inviting me here today. And of course to Anna Maria who's helping to facilitate this conversation, and for my wonderful colleague, esteemed colleague, Roberto, who's an incredible artist. I feel honored to be here. So a little bit about my background is that as a small child, sorry, I do this every time. The scientists love to put me on the stage. But as a small child, I spent a lot of my time in the forest, a lot of it on horseback with my dogs. And I learned in that space the incredible beauty of nature, the colors, the sounds, the smells, the textures. And to me, that was one of the greatest forms of art. And simultaneously, I also grew up in a house where art was up front and center. I was around a lot of artists. I watched their process. I listened, I looked. And after a while, I realized that art was really a different form of nature. It was the same thing to me. So when I ended up in the Amazon over 30 years ago, or around 30 years ago, with some of the best forest ecologists on the planet, we were in the Peruvian Amazon, working along from the cloud forest all the way down to the lowlands of the Amazon, with an area close to Madre de Dios, Peru. I learned about the importance of the Amazon through the lens of science, began to understand it as a system. The fact that every day it releases 20 billion tons of moisture into the atmosphere is really incredible. I was a witness to this intact piece of rainforest, and I was also a witness to its destruction. In 2001, after 9/11 happened in the United States, the prices of gold shot up, and people came from all over Peru and other countries to Peru to mine for gold. And I thought a lot about what I can do to help with this issue. I noticed that much of the information at that point that I was learning from scientists wasn't getting out to general populations. So with that in mind, I decided to start Amazon Aid with the goal of actually educating global citizens using the best science out there about why the Amazon is important and what are the implications of its destruction. And for me, it was about how was I going to engage audiences in a way that would actually make them care. So the first thing I did was I decided I was going to make a movie. And I've never made a movie in my entire life. So I made a movie, and it's called River of Gold, which you saw part of the trailer for. And it's about illegal gold mining, illicit and unregulated gold mining in the Peruvian Amazon. And that movie, we were the first people inside the mining camps really to take film it and to come out and unharmed. And it was an incredible experience, at times extremely scary, but we did it and we made a movie. And that movie has been shown all over the world. I decided to make a film because film is one of the most complex art forms that you can use. And I'm a strong believer that using arts to help protect the Amazon is not only a metaphor for its beauty, but also because arts is incredible for helping to change hearts and minds. And that was really my goal. Arts are incredible. Like, for instance, I don't know if you all know, but just the action of listening to music, you use more of your brain than any other type of external stimuli. And that in itself is incredible. And then actually watching a movie is the same. The person right next to you could actually be using the same synapses in their brain that you are. They're feeling the same emotions that you could be. So film to me was a very, very powerful tool for which is one of the high form of art to actually be able to make a change. And with River of Gold, we have shown that film all over the world, and it has been a real workhorse for transformation. And what I was able to do was I was able to sit on a stage on panels. I've had many, many panels all over the world, from the UN to the Vatican to Museum of Tolerance in LA to in front of the gold community. We just had one in Brazil with Globo, which is the big media company. So we've used that film over and over. And one of the things I do is listen to the questions of the audience, a very diverse community of people asking different questions. And from there, I thought, well, I need to be able to understand the system of gold so I can better answer these questions, because it's not enough to show a piece of art, a film, without being able to actually come talk about solutions. So Amazon Aid over the last 10 years has been working on learning about the supply chain of gold all the way from the ground to the consumer. What's happening with the London bullion markets? How do refineries work? How do they get their gold? How is the gold flowing out of the Amazon and into the supply chain? Where is the transparency? What are the criminal components of it? So from there, what we're doing now is we're starting a working group, a collaborative, an innovative collaborative, where we're bringing a diverse set of stakeholders with different opinions to sit around the table to figure out how we can transform the industry. It's the Amazon Gold Working Group, and we're just now we're in the seed stages of it, and it's going really well. So please stay tuned and watch this space. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sarah, and thank you very much for the incredible work that you're doing. I also agree with you that art and the many different forms of art is very powerful to transmit messages and to really give a call for action for the Amazon. I am an economist. I believe in evidence and I believe in data, but that's not enough. I do believe that art can be much more powerful to really transmit the message of urgency that we need to do in this case. Now let's move to our next segment about the preservation of local culture and working with communities. First, I would like to highlight the Amazonia Forever program, which I alluded to when we started. And the program is based on 5 pillars: combating deforestation, promoting the bioeconomy, taking care of people with adequate access to education, healthcare, and jobs, promoting sustainable cities as the fourth pillar, and finally, promoting sustainable low carbon agriculture, livestock, and forestry. Roberto, how do you balance showcasing the Amazon natural wonders while addressing these environmental threats? Considering your work with local communities affected by different threats such as illegal mining and logging, could you please share your learning experiences and explain how art can contribute to greater conversations and call to actions on these challenges?
Sí, junto a mi trabajo, digamos, artístico concretamente, yo desarrollo toda una línea de talleres y workshops en las áreas específicas donde trabajo. He venido trabajando con la Asociación de Guardaparques, por ejemplo, en todo el país, dictando talleres de fotografía a los guardaparques para que tengan la capacidad de utilizar esa herramienta, que finalmente es un arma también, para visibilizar de una forma más exacta y profesional toda la problemática que se gesta, que se genera en las reservas y en los perímetros, básicamente, de las reservas, que suelen ser ya las áreas también de minería ilegal. ¿No? Es como darles la potencialidad de la herramienta fotográfica para visibilizar todo esto. Pero además de eso, también he estado dando talleres dentro de las zonas digamos, de problemáticas de minería ilegal concretamente. Todo esto también tengo que mencionar gracias a la ayuda de Wildlife Conservation Society, ¿no? Una ONG que apoya, digamos, todas estas investigaciones desde Lima. Y dimos, por ejemplo, un taller en Mazuco. Mazuco es un centro poblado de minería ilegal, totalmente tomado por la minería ilegal, y planteamos dictar talleres a los hijos de los mineros ilegales, también para tener una percepción de qué pasa con las siguientes generaciones en términos de cómo ven ellos finalmente el actuar de sus padres ¿no? y tomar conciencia desde la juventud o futuros eh, personas que van a comenzar a tomar decisiones a muy corto plazo. El taller con los chicos en Mazuco fue increíble, fue realmente increíble, fue un grupo como de 24 niños, hombres y mujeres, entre 8 y 12, 14 años. El nivel de maduración que tenía esta población infantil, probablemente por la presión, ¿no es cierto?, social de cómo trabajan y dónde trabajan, era impresionante en términos de que parecían mucho mayores a su edad cronológica, tenían una visión muy particular, local, nacional y global, que a mí me sorprendió realmente, muy por encima de la media, digamos, dictada en talleres urbanos en mi país, y con una clara conciencia, muchos de ellos, de dónde vivían, del trabajo de sus padres y qué cosa querían hacer ellos en el futuro, ¿no? Todos ellos querían estudiar y ser profesionales, ¿no? Y salir de alguna forma de ese universo complejo y finalmente muy, muy problemático, ¿no? Entonces, trato de generar una especie de equilibrio entre mi trabajo autoral y este interés finalmente por educar o generar espacios de reflexión utilizando la herramienta fotográfica no solamente para crear arte, sino precisamente para pensar, para contextualizar a ellos como sujetos, sus contextos, ¿no es cierto? Y posibles líneas de salida. Entonces, la experiencia en estos talleres ha sido impresionante, tanto en lo de los guardaparques como con grupos locales o con etnias también, en donde, por ejemplo, una experiencia muy particular creo que habla de algo que trasciende la experiencia misma. Usualmente en los talleres hago un primer ejercicio en donde los alumnos, entre comillas, salen a hacer fotos libremente. Haz 10 fotos. En los talleres hechos, por ejemplo, con guardaparques venidos de poblaciones citadinas, de alguna forma replicaba la experiencia de Lima, en donde cada uno de los fotógrafos en clase, de los alumnos, generaban imágenes muy parecidas entre ellas y uno podía diferenciar muy claramente qué foto había sido hecha por el señor A, B, C o D. ¿No? Hay una forma muy particular de componer, de encuadrar. Cuando hice esto con un grupo de cejas, de guardaparques de cejas que no habían salido de la comunidad, las fotos me sorprendieron. ¿Y me sorprendieron por qué? Porque todas eran iguales. La forma de mirar de ellos era muy similar. ¿Qué deduzco de eso? Que en este grupo estaba primero la unidad de grupo social que de individuo, que de sujeto, y tenían una mirada comunitaria, mientras que en los grupos citadinos el sujeto, ¿no es cierto?, es la base de la estructura social. Entonces, me pareció interesantísimo porque de alguna forma tiene que ver con esas otras formas de vincularse, con esas otras formas de respetar eh, culturalmente la naturaleza, pero también a nosotros mismos.
Gracias, Roberto. Es fascinante y fascinante lo del encuadre de las fotografías, como lo hacían en las áreas urbanas y como lo hacían la comunidad en la que estabas. Sarah, now I would like to ask you something. We all want to see significant change in the Amazon. Many believe that change must begin within the Amazon itself. So rather than changing the way of life of its people, perhaps we need to rethink our relationship with the environment through education. Over the past 25 years, you have been engaged in educational innovation. Can you please share some local examples or case studies from your educational journey?
Of course. Thank you, Anna Maria. And I'm glad to hear that you're an economist. We work very closely with one. Our COO is one. You got to look at the money line too, right? So, so when I started to learn about through the scientists the importance of the Amazon and why we need to keep it standing, I realized that when we would discuss that it was coming close to the tipping point, that I needed to take action. And one of the reasons why I started Amazon Aid was to actually educate global audiences, as I spoke of earlier, using impeccable science and deliver some solutions of what people can actually do together. So your question about the economic side and what's happening on the ground and just educating, I think it's a very complex system, the Amazon is, and it's going to take a complex set of solutions to actually create change. And I'm really, really excited to see, after working in this space for a very long time, that governments in the Amazon are beginning to look at sustainable solutions, sustainable infrastructure, and building better working conditions for the peoples that live there, that work in harmony with nature, that it will be critical. So that's been a really wonderful thing to be a witness of. And I know that IDB is actually, with your work, thank you for your work and in helping to support governments start to build these important new infrastructures. The other thing is that I think along the demand side, it's been very interesting to see the awareness and the education being built around the importance of supply chains and understanding where your products come from. In the Amazon, there has been a lack of transparency about and traceability of some of the supply chains. And there's discussion around that now. And you see it on the demand side, which is a testimonial of the need to have it happen. but also that there is a new awareness of the importance of this as the climate becomes more optimized. So, but that being said, after it's a complex system, and you need a complex set of actual deliverables to make a transformation of any culture, any cultural shift that you need to do. And education is key in all of these. In any cultural shift, if you look at history, you will see education and awareness as being a very important part of any shift. So what I have worked on in my entire life is education and awareness. And it started when I was 28 years old. I realized the value of education. And I was that mom that started recycling programs. I was that mom that started talking about environment and created curriculum and having assemblies around art and the environment a long time ago. And it's been really, really cool to watch the shift and the awareness coming to actually for us to all realize that we all need to work together to have respect for each other and respect for the environment. We are the environment. We are the ecosystem. And without a healthy ecosystem, not be healthy. So I think that education, we need to transform hearts and minds to understand that the real luxury is clean air and clean water and medicine that helps heal us and beauty that help our soul, you know. So I feel very lucky that I've been able to make change with educational projects like River of Gold, which has been shown in the classroom all the way up to global leaders, policymakers, etc. I also started a project in West Africa called Yamo. It's an art and music school for little kids, and that project's been going for over 10 years. And we have seen it's been a testimonial of how art can actually help transform little kids' brains. Out of almost 1,000 schools, our kids that went through our program were number one. They had the best test scores of any kids out of 1,000 schools. The kids are now creating environmental projects. They work in the forests. They create change through art and music. We have multidisciplinary curriculum that supports the national school standards are. So it's sometimes it feels really, really slow when you work in the educational space. Many times that maybe I quit. I don't know if we're getting anywhere, but then it's slow. But the world is opening up, and my advice to all of y'all that have worked in education is just keep going. It works. It needs to be part of a larger systemic work, but keep going, and it's worth it. So thank you.
And I agree with you, Sarah, that message is very important, no? How the value of education and how really education can increase awareness of, for example, in this case, the Amazon and all the threats that the Amazon is facing. We are going now to the part on with questions and answers from the audience. We have a very good one by Jacqueline Volmar. And the question is for both of you, for Roberto and for Sarah. The question is, how does the preservation of local culture contribute to the global cultural diversity, which is essential for sustainable development?
And Maria, I'm having a hard time. I hear another voice in the background, and I don't hear yours as well. Can you ask that again?
Is how does the preservation of local culture contribute to the global cultural diversity, which is essential for sustainable development? I'm going to write it in the chat while Roberto answers it, okay? So you can read it.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you. Roberto?
Sí, creo que para mí, luego de esta experiencia de más de una década, es clarísimo cómo muchas de estas culturas no han perdido un vínculo totalmente distinto con la naturaleza, no han perdido esta relación cotidiana del día a día con este universo que entienden y viven de una forma totalmente distinta, radicalmente distinta a las citadinas globales, digamos. Eh, Contienen además sus propios idiomas y lenguajes que traducen muchas de estas experiencias y estas cosmovisiones en forma muy particulares. Creo que hay que, al contrario, rescatar todos estos universos culturales, porque precisamente son puertas de alguna forma para nosotros para regresar a ese tipo de vínculo establecido en donde se respetaba la naturaleza y se generaba un equilibrio muchísimo más sólido en el tiempo. Y es, insisto, para mí esencial no solo mantenerlas, sino respetarlas y sostenerlas de alguna forma.
Gracias,
Porque
Robert.
solo para terminar, además
Vale.
están bien avasalladas muchas de ellas por básicamente la minería ilegal, ¿no es cierto? Que comienza a tomar sus territorios y complejizar esta relación con estos grupos étnicos. Sí, perdón.
Muchas gracias. Sí, y tú has estado haciendo trabajo con las comunidades locales y Sara también, lo cual es muy importante. Sara, over to you.
Okay, I hope I'm hearing everything right. So I'd like to add to the importance of the indigenous voices, as they are the knowledge keeper of their own lands. And this is a global, this is happening. This knowledge base is global with every indigenous group. Their relationship with nature is very intact, as Rodrigo was saying, and they understand how to best manage their lands. I think their voice needs to be up front and central in all conversations. And when we work in the gold systems change, their voice is the most important of them all. And we are working to ensure that is that they have the tools and to be comfortable speaking at a round table about what's happening to them with gold mining. So they're critical. And thank you for ever asking that question.
Thanks to you, Sarah. Now, a question for both of you again. The question is, what do you think about an organization like the Inter-American Development Bank organizing an exhibition focused on Amazonian artists? How has your experience been collaborating with institutions like the IDB to change people's minds? Sarah, do you want to start? And then I'll go to Robert.
I'd be happy to. I've had the great fortune of actually having collaborations with IDB for quite some time. I actually showed one of my films there, and that was an extraordinary conversation. And I find that Interdevelopment Bank has a lot of capacity for building valuable infrastructure, especially now around the Amazon, protection of the Amazon, and building and actually working to create sustainable livelihoods. So, and I think that also, again, creating change through the arts is important, and to be able to have an exhibit that talks about the importance of the Amazon, but also to be able to work with economists like you all at the Interdevelopment Bank, who are actually looking at infrastructure and what's needed to help facilitate this change, that and the promote the awareness needed to change hearts and minds so that we're all aligned.
Thank you, Sara. Roberto, ahora tú.
Sí, creo que después de lo que ha dicho Sara no hay mucho que decir, pero recalco dos cosas. Estoy totalmente de acuerdo en lo potente que puede ser y debe ser, digamos, la función del beat. Por un lado, en términos de la difusión de obra vinculada a estos intereses, como por ejemplo la muestra que está siendo expuesta ahora en el beat en Washington, pero también en términos de organización de espacios para pensar y gestionar cambios importantes vinculados al medio ambiente y en particular a la Amazonía, ¿no? Entonces me parece esencial la posición y la posibilidad de instituciones de esta naturaleza.
Gracias. Y creo que ahí es muy importante lo que podemos hacer todos juntos por la Amazonía, ¿no? Pues nosotros como institución multilateral, ustedes como artistas, como documentalistas y con fundaciones que están trabajando en la Amazonía y otros actores como las comunidades, los gobiernos, solamente todos unidos vamos a poder hacer algo que realmente sea efectivo. I have another question. I think it's going to be the second to last. And this is again for Sarah and for Roberto. And Sarah, if you're having problems hearing me, I already sent it to you through the chat. This is a question by Mauricio Rivera Ramirez. He is currently working on a documentary research project about the novel La Voragine, The Vortex, and its author, Jose Eustacio Rivera. The project involves 4 episodes, and the last one revolves about the relevance of this novel, which denounced the atrocities of the rubber industry 1 century ago in the 21st century and aims to highlight creative voices like artists and activists whose work focuses on the protection and restoration of Amazonia. Mauricio would like to ask Roberto and Sara if, in their experience, they have found scars that are still open from the rubber era, and if they recognize patterns that are being repeated as a consequence of other extractive industries. Roberto, if you want to start, and then Sara.
Sí, bueno, no he visto directamente huellas, ¿no es cierto?, de este periodo histórico, pero sí, digamos, hay formas de vincularse en términos extractivistas, ¿no? A la selva como todo el área de deforestación, ¿no? Y de venta de maderas, que creo que es casi un calco de ese periodo histórico, ¿no? Eh, Creo que es también importantísimo y que suma a lo de la minería ilegal otro gran bolsón con otra problemática y otra dinámica, pero que también es importantísimo, ¿no? Gracias.
Gracias, Roberto. Sara, please.
I do see similarities. I do not know that much about the rubber boom other than there was a lot of violence associated with it. There are a lot of outsiders that came to the Amazon to exploit it. I do see similarities with what's happening with the demand for natural resources on the demand side, and oftentimes the lack of policy, the lack of transparency around supply chains that I think needs to be mitigated, and it can be. And I am also aware of some of the needs for policies in the U.S. and in the EU, etc. There's talk about it. And hopefully we need to be educating people and the consumer in general about their supply chains and demand for policy reform. It is not illegal to bring in illicitly mined gold from the Amazon at this point. The only way that they can get people is through money laundering it, and so these laws need to be better. And I think as consumers in the U.S. and abroad, we need to understand what it means when we use our wallet.
Yes, and I would say, Sarah, that we have a very important difference with the times of La Voragine, because in La Voragine, there wasn't this flow of information. It was not easy to have the traceability of the supply chain. It was not possible to do awareness campaigns with consumers, whereas now we can be much more forceful about that, no? So it's an interesting parallel that I think it's interesting.
And it gives me hope to know that we have the capacity to do that.
Exactly.
We're in there.
We have a last question by Dylan Miles for Roberto and Sarah as well. Which do you consider are the main threats to the Amazon rainforest? Why don't you start, Sarah, and then we go with Roberto?
Well, as we know, cattle mining is the worst. That's also, there is issues with supply chains there. As far as cattle ranching uses the most land in agriculture, but gold mining is by far the worst because they use mercury in the process and because of the criminal issues associated with it. You've got wildlife trafficking, human trafficking, money laundering, narcotics trafficking, mercury poisoning, violence against indigenous and local communities. It's a big problem. And I would say that was the worst. However, what's been really interesting since I've been working in this space so long is to start to see the awareness and the reactions of others to know that we need to be more responsible and creating better sources of gold that protects the people and the environment. It's coming, and that gives me hope. It's a very difficult, complex problem. Come talk to me if you want to learn more about it. I could probably spend 2 hours boring you with it, which I will not do. But it's a tough one. But we have great hope. We're going to transform it.
Thank you, Sarah. It's important to end with an optimistic message, I think. Roberto, please, adelante.
Sí, no sé si lo mío va a ser tan optimista, pero sí, acuerdo totalmente con Sara en términos de que probablemente el mayor problema social, no solo vinculado a la biodiversidad, es la minería ilegal por los grandes problemas que genera, por un lado, obviamente, la deforestación y el envenenamiento de la propia selva. Los grupos étnicos cercanos a estas áreas no pueden ni siquiera comer sus peces porque están totalmente intoxicados. Genera además trata de personas y un volumen de dinero que es inmenso, 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 por lo tanto muy poderoso. Entonces creo que la única forma realmente de vencer este tipo de situaciones es con la suma de todos los actores que queremos o buscamos cambios importantes, ¿no? O sea, si no generamos esta suma de actores en todos los niveles, desde la educación primaria, grupos sociales, locales y no locales, instituciones, artistas, autores, etcétera, va a ser muy, muy complejo generar un cambio de desarrollo en estos territorios, ¿no? Entonces, creo que precisamente además un espacio como este lo que genera es conocernos muchos, los que estamos aquí en el panel, pero muchos de los que nos están escuchando, y poder ir generando estos espacios de apertura para sumar, ¿no? Y creo que aquí por lo que hay que apostar es sencillamente sumar para generar un cambio.
Sí, sumar para generar un cambio es fundamental porque cada uno por su lado no lo va a lograr y es muy importante. So we are going to conclude. Thank you very much to everyone for your participation. To our panelists, Roberto and Sarah, thank you very much for sharing your experiences of your professional and artistic journeys and enriching our understanding of the pressing issues that the Amazon region faces. I am sure that our audience really enjoyed this journey. I did. To explore the transformative power of art, advocacy, and collective efforts in shaping a sustainable future for the Amazon. I firmly believe that we must work together, hand in hand, to protect and conserve this invaluable ecosystem for generations to come. I also want to express my deepest gratitude to our team from the IDB's Art and Transformation Program. They are here behind the scenes and they are making all these wonderful initiatives happen. Finally, I want to end this panel by inviting you to visit our IDB's Cultural Center where we host exhibitions from Latin America and the Caribbean artists like our current one. Thank you all for joining us today. Goodbye and stay tuned for more updates on our Amazonias exhibition public programming. We invite you to follow us on our Instagram and Twitter accounts, which we are sharing through the chat at this moment. Thank you very much.